Every single time that I turn around, there's a new action RPG out there. There are a dime a dozen nowadays. They're all over the place. Even some formerly turn-based games have turned action, and we just got the great Visions of Mana, another action RPG. So, whenever all these action RPGs are coming out, they need to do something to set themselves apart from the pack. And the question that I want to answer to y'all in today's review of Reynatis is, does it actually set itself apart from the pack? Does this thing do anything special to warrant a purchase? And I'm going to let y'all know that, and I do think that that is worth a sub, as I do try my hardest to hit 100,000 subscribers. With your help, your like, and your sub, I do know that I can get there. And I do also want to give a huge thank you to Nisa for a game code, and also for the beautiful collector's edition of Reynatis, as I do go through this honest review that I don't think that they're going to like all that much. But let's go ahead and get started talking about Reynatis. First up, I just gotta say, this is a Furyu title, and they are definitely a hit or a miss developer. I kinda like love them or hate them type of developer. I mean, they are known for some good games, like last year's Trinity Trigger and the absolute classic hidden gem Alliance Alive. But they're also known for some, well, divisive titles, such as Monarch and Cry Machina. Now, games from this developer do seem to have their niche, kind of like those Idea Factory Neptunia games that we keep on getting, but personally for me, I don't like a game just because it's from a certain developer. It really has to hit that mark for me, and Reynatis is definitely a unique offering from them. Now, is it like some underrated classic hidden gem? No. But is it like dumpster fire trash? Also, no. It's somewhere in the middle and it's doing its own thing. The story and setting is quite unique, taking place in Shibuya, Japan, and you play as both main characters Marin and Sari, who've gained powers of wizardry through near-death encounters. Marin seeks his own freedom through the power of magic, while Sari is an officer for the MEA, and she seeks to put wizards in their place and regulate magic so that wizards and humans can just coexist. This is definitely a modern world, with cell phones, social media, and text messages, while at the same time it's also its own thing, with wizards roaming the streets coexisting with humanity, but also with humans turning into wizards and then turning into monsters through their malice or drug use or something. The game kind of explained it, but it also threw so many different terms at me all at once that I was just kind of confused as to like how, why people turned into wizards or monsters, but the bottom line is it has something to do with drug use. And whenever they're addicted to the drugs, they give off like this purple smoke, which is their malice, and that is pretty much representative of the townsfolk hatred towards the wizards. But you can also use this like wizard tracking app in your telephone to go out and complete side quests, and therefore reduce the townsfolk's malices against the wizard, therefore also increasing your reputation in town too. Then there's a suppression and a liberation mode, where you can suppress your power and hide as a human, or liberate your power and just be a wizard. But if you're liberated in town, you're going to be tracked down like a dog and killed, so don't do that. Also, there's all sorts of other teeny weeny little teeny tiny minutia that goes on in town based upon whether or not you're showing up as a wizard or a human, and believe me, we will be here all day long if I go into all the different little mechanics about it. Just know that it's a lot, and just kind of like whenever you're in town, just suppress yourself and you'll be fine. It is what it is. Let's move on, because the setting, the music, and the graphics are a vibe, like a total vibe. The graphics are sparkly, shiny, and really pretty, especially in those pre-rendered cutscenes. The backgrounds of Japan are really lifelike, with real-world stores and an advertisement sprinkled about. It looks really good. Well, that is, until you see the characters, who look to be straight ripped out from the PS2. It's kind of jarring, but I've never really been one to care all that much about graphics. I was raised back on the NES and the Game Boy, so really just about everything looks good to me. The music is superb, and it's definitely a highlight of the game, and that is to be expected as the composer for Reynatis also composed the music for the Kingdom Hearts series, the Final Fantasy XV, and even Super Mario RPG, so I really can't say anything bad about it. But I can say this about the voice acting. It's all in Japanese, and there's no option at all for English voices. And while this is like bothersome enough during the cutscenes, it can just be downright infuriating whenever you're out and about exploring, as your characters will drone on and chat with one another while you're like running around. But rather than being able to look at where you're going, you have to stop and read the text at the bottom of the screen because it's not in English. And God forbid that they talk whenever you're in combat, because You won't be able to read it. You just have to ignore it completely, because there's no way at all that you'll ever be able to read the text while you're also trying to fight. And speaking of the battle system, it's pretty cool. Let's talk about that now. So, there's like a bunch of different mechanics when you're out and about in town, and there's a bunch of different mechanics in combat too. So I just want to make this as simple as humanly possible for you. There is an MP meter, but don't think of it as MP. Think of it like a stamina bar. And you can only attack for as long as you have that stamina. And once you run out of the stamina, you're going to get suppressed, because you can't attack anymore. Whenever you're suppressed, you'll slowly regain that stamina, and you also get some more by dodging. But the real way to regain it all is just to sit back, relax, and just stand there and take the punishment. Seriously, you just stand around and wait for an attack, then time will stop, and a ring will appear, and you like charge up the ring like a quick time event or something, and then boom, you'll dodge the hit and regain all of that stamina in one go. So you're ready to kick ass and take names all over again. The combat is a whole lot of fun, and it is different, and they do throw a lot at you at first. But once you get into it, it isn't too complex, and if you just keep in mind that you just need to attack and use your special skills and all that kind of good stuff and then dodge around to restart your MP, you'll be fine. And I will say this, the combat does start off easy enough, but it can get pretty hairy, and there is no difficulty mode selector either, so do keep that in mind. Beyond the two main characters, there are 4 other party members who will join up with you, each of them with their own magical powers and strengths and weaknesses, and you can switch between them in combat at will, though you can only fight as the one character that you can control. All the other characters will leave combat shortly after they're switched out. This isn't like Secret of Mana or the Ease series where all your characters stay on screen and fight together. Also, there's no traditional equipment that you would buy at a store, but there are wizards, which basically work as equipment, powering up your attacks, skills, stats, or even your experience. And you can level these wizards up by spending skill points, which you earn at each level up. Also, as you explore the world, you'll find new wizards scattered around which pretty much just look like graffiti, and you can use them to learn new skills and power-ups. But it has the caveat that you can only learn them when your malice level is low. So it really does behoove you to explore as much as possible to find all those wizards and also do the side quests so that you keep the malice low. Now, that does bring in another little annoying twist, because sometimes you will literally be forced to get some wizards before you can move on with the storyline. And again, you can only do that when your malice is low, and you can only lower your malice by doing side quests. So that kind of makes some side quests mandatory. And that I'm not really a fan of. If something's supposed to be optional, it should be optional. They shouldn't suddenly become mandatory. Another thing that can be rather annoying is that there is a lot of talking and a lot of downtime for an action RPG. There are times whenever you're like stuck in town and you just can't fight much at all, and you're going to be wishing that you were in the mists, in the forest, and you could just fight. But no! You have to drag your little hiney all over town first. It is an odd design choice to say the least, because whenever I play an action RPG, I want the action. I just want to kick ass and take names. I don't want to go sightseeing around a city and talk about high school crap that I don't care about. All told, your mileage will vary with Reynatis. Like I said before, it's definitely a vibe. The combat is fun, different, and engaging, and the story's pretty interesting as well. But man, the city parts, which is half the frickin' game, make it drag. Because for an action RPG, there's just not a whole lot of action. So as far as my recommendation goes, here's the deal. I didn't notice any glaring flaws, nothing that made me say like, oh my god, this is an absolute mess. But at the same time, I didn't notice anything like groundbreaking either. So it comes down to whether or not you like this setting, or the vibe, or the music. Do you like these graphics or the combat? If you do, definitely go out and grab it. But for everybody else, you're probably better off waiting for a sale. It is an interesting little game, just probably not for $60. Maybe wait till it goes down to $20 or something, then give it a shot, because you will have some fun with it, but it's not exactly a genre-defining experience either. This is more like a veg and chill game. So that's it for my review of Reynatis for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC, and I gotta ask you, what did you think about the game? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this review, here's another video that I think that you're really going to like, going over some pretty cool RPGs. So be sure to check that one out, and as always, have a good day.